Hey, everybody. Welcome to Queer 101. I'm Peppermint.
And I'm Hugh the Historian, and we're your hosts for Queer History with 101 at alstora.com. Woo!
It's true. Now, listen, if you're listening to this right now on YouTube, please go over right after this and check out our conversation with Bob the Drag Queen. Check out our book club, our Queer History book club. Tell them about our Queer History book club.
If you are not in the club, what are you doing? When you join, you get not only a signed book every month chosen by Pep and I. So we look through all kinds of books to pick out just the right one for our club. We send you a signed copy. We send you some amazing swag that goes with it. And then we have a conversation, like the one we're going to have in a little bit, with the author. An exclusive conversation only available to members of our book club. So, like Pep said, if you're not a member, what are you doing?
Now, what have you been doing here? Like, what have you been up to?
It has been a month since we've seen each other. A crazy, wild month. I got to say, though, the highlight for me, the absolute highlight was I saw Kylie Minogue live in concert at Madison Square Garden.
I heard everyone has been talking about Kylie, who came a few weeks ago to New York City, and I'm jealous. That same day, I went to the opening, well, that same weekend that Kylie was in New York, I went to the opening of Boop, the musical, based on Betty Boop.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Broadway, and that was just so much fun. It was a lot of fun, and I was like, how are they going to turn this cartoon into a not cartoon? And they did a great job.
Was it, like, sexy? Was it silly? Like, what kind of energy was it?
Well, that's the thing. Here's the thing, and the jury's still out, because Betty Boop, when I was younger, and probably more because of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because I remember Betty Boop like as a pictorial. I remember her photo, and I guess I remember her voice. I don't remember watching any of her movies, but she was like one of the sexiest cartoons I'd ever seen.
Oh yeah,
and only to be outdone by Jessica Rabbit, who was obviously a new creation at the time. But she was like so like sexy, but also like didn't use her sex in the same way that Jessica did. But I still thought, oh my gosh, this is a floozy. I'm not saying she's a floozy, but that's my thought.
Yeah.
And I never thought of her. I never thought of the message. I was not able to receive the message that through sexual empowerment that she could become a feminist icon. And I that was not in my mind, but I was very young in the beginning of my feminist era. And so going to the show, though, they listed a whole bunch of ideals that Betty Boop is like, an icon of. And I was like, okay.
Betty Boop for the resistance.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but I'm here for it. In this version, it definitely is. And so, yeah, it was really good.
Oh, that's so cool. I read somewhere, and I don't know if this is in the show or not. I had never heard this before, but that originally Betty Boop was a hybrid human poodle?
Yes. No, that's not in the show.
Okay. I was like, Betty Boop the furry. I'm here for it.
Yeah, it's enough of a stretch. Not a stretch, but it was like enough, I think, for the stretch of the minds of people who are traditionalists to see her as a black woman, because she's played by a fabulous black woman. And so, Betty Boop is now black.
Awesome.
And I think people would have they're just losing that. They might have, you never know with these traditionalists. They're like, oh, you're going to change, all that. We've heard a lot of that.
I love it when they lose their minds over a fictional character's race. And you're like, it's not real. The person that they are not. There is no Santa Claus, Megan. There is no Santa Claus.
Darling, Megan. Yeah, so I got a chance to see that. And a friend of mine who's in the show, Eric, makes an edgy joke about feminism and, equal pay, which 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'd say up until 2020, 2021, would have landed, like, ha ha ha. But under the current administration, it's like, oh, no. Don't say that. No. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Yeah. There, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, no.
No, don't do that.
No. I went to a show a few weeks back as well, opening of the new show, Last 5 Years. Actually, I think Bob, who we'll be talking to later, was also there. And let me tell you, at the end of the show, the guy who wrote it got up and he gave a speech that was so bad. So, like, you could see what he was trying to do, but he got up and he said, I love DEI because DEI makes life harder. It's meant to make life harder for people like me, and white men. It makes life harder, much harder. Like, went on like that for a little while. And then he called the director of the show a DEI hire. He was like, she would never have directed this. And you could feel the room. Like, I'm used to Broadway being a lot of polite applause no matter what bullshit comes out of somebody's mouth. But not today. Not anymore. That shit does not fly. And people, the room got cold. The applause, like, died down. Like, you were like, oh, you stepped in
I gotta
it.
put on more makeup behind that.
But wait. I'm getting lost and distracted by Broadway gossip when actually you have important news about something exciting that happened in the life of one of your characters last month that I don't think our podcast has heard about at all.
It's true. For those who don't know, I am also an actress. I think a lot of people just blank out online and think the last thing I did was RuPaul's Drag Race 6 years ago, and I haven't done or breathed since. And contrary to popular belief, I am a trained actress. And so I got cast on a show called Survival of the Thickest last year. When we got picked up for season 2, I was overjoyed, which season 2 just premiered. And I don't want to overly spoil it, but let's say my character does find love this season in season 2. Survival of the Thickest is, speaking of DEI, it's all about the oddie bodies, the fatty baddies, the black girl magic, the queer the queer quasar. I don't know. I'm just coming
Quasar, I like that. That's a good one.
Alliteration. But it is a show about a bunch of friends who circle around and rally around a fabulous woman played by Michelle Buteau. Of course, the show is based on her book on her life. And it's awesome. And I think y'all should see it. It's on Netflix. And would love for y'all to see it, especially considering that, like, LGBTQI plus characters and storylines are lacking. They are actually diminishing because of this push back against DEI. So there's even less. Now, I know it's hard to imagine that because we live in a world where we can stream whatever we want. But you going back and watching Queer Eye, for the original Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, or every episode of Queer Eye over and over again, binging, which we should all be doing, is not an introduction of new queer content. It's the same content, and we're seeing it again. Now, obviously, I shouldn't use Queer Eye because they still have new episodes out on Netflix.
Right. But the old season,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The old, like, going back and looking at old seasons and stuff, it's comforting for sure, and I'm definitely in that, like, if it ain't in the 90s, I ain't aware of it. But when we come up for air, we see that there's only a few there's less and less queer characters introduced every year.
Absolutely. And
so
major storylines being cut these days. Disney cut a trans storyline. The White Lotus cut a piece about a non-binary kid. Like, this shit is getting left on the cutting room floor. And thank God you and Michelle Buteau are out there making these shows. And like I said, we're not going to spoil too much, but breaking some TV history, I think, making some real milestones in queer representation.
Yeah.
So
apparently, another similar milestone hadn't been celebrated on television, on mainstream television, since 1977.
Wow.
So this type of moment did happen in 1977, but not since then. So it's been that's a long time. That's before I was born.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. I can't believe I actually gagged. That's actually before I was born.
An entire lifetime.
An entire lifetime. So please go out and support that. So yeah, it's been a wild. We debuted the show last month, or premiered the show last month, and it was in the top 10 for half the month, which is great. A lot of shows premiere on Netflix and don't even chart. And so it feels great. I hope we get to season 3 because I would like a job if there's still a country.
If anyone is listening, watching, get out there, watch the show, tell everyone you love it and you want to see season 3.
Now let's talk about Alstora news, shall we?
Yes, we do have some news, don't we? We have our TDOV, our Transgender Day of Visibility list that we put out at the end of last month, end of March, beginning of April. If you have not seen it yet, it is full of some incredible queer books, queer authors, trans books, trans authors, some old ones, some new ones, some funny ones, some serious ones. It's just everything. And if, like you said, if you're not up for supporting some new queer content, check out our list for some older queer content. There's a lot out there.
Can you tell us about some upcoming books that we have?
Oh my gosh, upcoming books. We have so many. Well, the one that we've got coming up next month that I'm super excited about is Vivian Blaxell's Worthy of the Event, which is a crazy collection of essays from Australia. Vivian is an incredible, philosopher, but she's also, sexy and funny and dirty, and the book is a wild ride. So I can't wait for people to read that. In June, we've got Cara de Robertis' So Many Stars, a collection of oral histories with queer elders of color. In July, we've got Rosa Nazare's All the Parts We Exile, another fabulous memoir. I know the club has been loving the memoirs we have done recently, so that one I think will be a big highlight. And then in August, we've got Nathan Lent's Sexual Evolution, some real dense nonfiction on sex.
I love that. Oh my gosh. And so don't forget to check out our last video that we talked about, Fearless and Free, Josephine Baker's memoir with Ijoma Aluo. It is, it's a great interview, and Ijoma has been just really popping off on social media. I was following her and didn't even know that this book was in our chamber. Mm-hmm. That sounds like violent. For a while. And didn't even know that, this was the same person. So, surprise. Ijoma is just, I honestly think one of those, thinkers that's going to go down in history, in 10, 20, 30 years. We're going to be speaking and everyone will know about this person. I believe she's just, there's something about her essence that it just really, that's all I have to, like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. She's just one of those, she does everything. And then on the podcast, she was so warm and bubbly and fun and smart. And on top of being a writer, she's an activist and a journalist and a this and a that. It's like everything. It's so cool.
I do want to say really quickly that there's one book that I actually wrote the foreword for. It's called Queer Happened Here, and it comes out this month, and everybody should check it out. I don't know if it's available on Alstora, but they, if it is, get it there, and if it's not, get it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But it's actually it's a book about New York City and all of the New York City queer nightlife, the seediest of queer nightlife that we've lost, that's been shut down and is now a Starbucks or a Walgreens or a Dwayne Reed or a bank. And people should know. I used to go to this club called the Hellfire Club, which was a sex club, and it was across from Jay's Hangout, which was a gay sex club. The girls were not allowed into the gay sex club, so we went into the straight sex club. Makes sense to me. And whatever, all kinds of stuff went on in there. However, they've recently turned it, not recently, but in the past 15 years after it shut down, they turned it into this very upscale restaurant, which is in the Meatpacking District. The Meatpacking District is a completely different place. And honey, I just want to walk by there and yell in that door. If you only knew who got done what to wear on that place where the salad bar is, darling.
You're like, that floor could get you pregnant. Do not touch it. Be careful.
Exactly. Anyway, speaking about history, I'm really, 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 really stoked for all the books that you mentioned, but our guests that we have on our current episode over on Alstora.com. It is my dear friend Bob the Drag Queen, who wrote a fabulous book called Harriet Tubman Live in Concert. It's a novel, and not only is it a novel, it's a New York Times bestseller, honey. Now, we have so much special planned with Bob that should be announced by now. Not only do we have our normal conversation with Bob, but we also have a live Zoom that you are all invited to if you are Alstora members. If you're not, Sorry,
You're not.
don't be jealous.
Not on the list.
And we'll get a chance to go further, and you'll be able to actually ask your questions of Bob the Drag Queen, and we might even get a special feature, a musical feature that is closely associated with the book. But you got to get the book and read the book first. If you don't have the book, you might have missed Bob's tour, but that's okay because you can still grab a copy on our allstora.com book club. So yeah, that's that. Now, we had a fabulous interview, and we are going to show you a clip right now. Here it is.
Check it out. We are so excited to have this conversation today with Bob the Drag Queen. If you have not yet read Harriet Tubman live in concert, well, first off, you don't know what's going on because the New York Times has it on the bestseller list, so everyone but you has read it. So get on with it. But just in case you haven't, we're going to give you a little description just to set the scene for the conversation we're about to have. Ask yourself, what would Harriet Tubman, the real great emancipator, the most active conductor on the Underground Railroad out of slavery, do if she came back to life right now today? Help her people get out to freedom, of course. And in the 21st century, that means teaming up with Darnell, a queer black hip-hop producer, and a wild group of other abolitionists, all returned from the dead, to drop the greatest hip-hop album the world has ever heard. If Darnell can keep it together, and guide her through the process, that is. But first, Darnell has to free himself from his own baggage. Ooh, I enjoyed this book so much.
I feel like I'm famous.
I agree, you are.
Well, I mean, because of this book, because, I couldn't be more proud. It's emotional and wild and it feels like a dream. And it's not even happening to me. I'm just watching it happen to one of my friends, one of my best friends. And but I want to know in the comments what quotes and what parts of the book really got you all going and that you think are really interesting. And I have a feeling that we're going to want to come back to this section of the quotes and of the comments to find out what you all are thinking if and or when there's another iteration of this project in the future. However, I want to read a quote to you right now.
Tell us what you love.
The quote is, I loved this. I've actually been afraid that Harriet and her crew would think that I was something of a heathen. Now, I know she is devoutly religious, and let's just say that I'm afraid that she wouldn't agree with my lifestyle. So I kept certain aspects of my personality to myself. And if I'm being honest, that doesn't seem fair. She's been so forthcoming with me, telling me extremely personal things. I really admire her conviction. I'm so used to code switching that sometimes I don't even know who I am anymore. That speaks to me so thoroughly, it's not even funny. Yeah.
And I think it gets at the book,
I've been in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really get to talk much about the current day in books, and so I love that kind of brings us to this, history, but also the code switching that so many queer people, black people, people of color gotta do all the time. And I love it.
I love it too. Well, that being said, I am so stoked and excited. Will you do the honors? No, let me do the honors. Can I do the honors?
Oh, please do. Please introduce your sibling.
I'm going to, honey. Let me tell you, the alter ego of non-binary comic and actor Caldwell TDQ, Bob the Drag Queen, describes herself as hilarious, beautiful, talented, and humble. Bob's unabashed confidence won her the title of America's Next Drag Superstar on the 8th season of RuPaul's Drag Race. She has had multiple acting roles from HBO to Netflix, Sony, TriStar, MTV, VH1, and definitely more. And the stage, darling. Along with HBO's first unscripted show, We're Here, Bob has recently released Emmy-winning,
right?
We're Here. Yeah, hello. Bob has recently released her second comedy special, Bob the Drag Queen, live at Caroline's, available on iTunes. I didn't realize that you get video on iTunes.
Yeah.
I don't have iTunes.
iTunes does everything now.
Bob is represented by an entire family of people who love Bob the Drag Queen, y'all. Please. Most importantly, Bob is the author of our April selection, of course, for Queer History 101. Please welcome the author, the New York Times best-selling author of Harriet Tubman Live in Concert. Please welcome my dear sister, the fabulous Bob the Drag Queen. Oh, hey.
Oh my God, I'm just tired after hearing your bio. Thank you for joining us.
No, I'm happy to be here. I'm working on. I'm calling it a NEGOT, the New York Times bestseller, Grammy, Oscar.
Okay. That sounds
wasn't sure what that was going to be.
You're going to have to explain that every time you say that.
And I know how it sounds, and that's why I said it.
Oh, we know.
Mm-hmm. So, there's almost no point to asking this question. Everybody on the podcast already knows, but we do it every time. Tell us, who are you? What do you do?
Oh, hi everyone. My name is Bob the Drag Queen. I'm probably most known for winning season 8 RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm a multidisciplinary
I like that.
person, but more than anything, I am a stand-up comedian who just happens to have a lot of passions. And I try to, mix them all together through my podcasting, through my work on reality television, and through my writing now.
Wow. That is so exciting. I love that you bring that same energy that we have gotten used to in comedy specials, in We're Here, in Drag Race, to a book where sometimes it's like, kind of hard for people to translate having an amazing personality and a great sense of humor and comic timing into the written word. And you do it so well.
Thank you. What I'm really proud of is a lot of my friends who read the book, they all say that they can hear me in their head when they are reading my words.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not even like that's new because, you just said now my writing, which yes, this is your first novel, this is your first book, but it's not your first writing. You write music and lyrics, and this essence, for those of us who know your music and have been consuming, this is not a new essence at all. And so this moment you've been priming yourself for this moment.
And I always tell people, stand-up comedians, although it seems very off the top of the head, we are writing these jokes. These jokes are written over months, sometimes years. So I have 3 comedy specials out, and I actually, if y'all want, you can go see Woke Man in a Dress. It's actually available. The easiest place to watch it is for free on YouTube. And we were lucky enough to win a Webby Award for that production. So yeah, you all can go watch it, Woke Man in a Dress, absolutely for free. And it was actually named after I think a Twitter troll, some Twitter comment called me a woke man in a dress, and I just thought it was so funny. I said, if this retweet gets so many likes, I'll name my next special Woke Man in a Dress. And here we are, Woke Man in a Dress.
So it is true that all of it's connected, that you are a comedy writer, you write the videos and the scripts, but how did you actually come to write a book? Where did that come from? What was the process that got you to Harriet Tubman?
So it came to me, actually. I didn't seek it, it came to me. I was writing Harriet Tubman Live in Concert as a play, and while writing the play, I had no deadline, I had no home for it, I had no producer. It was just me writing a play with my friends and some musicians who I work with. And then I went on season 1, episode 1 of We're Here. I was in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I remember still being I remember where I was standing even. I was standing in one of those recreation fields, one of those living historian recreation fields.
LARPing.
You're from Pep's from Pennsylvania. You probably know about the stuff they get up to in Gettysburg.
Oh, I know.
So I was standing there, and then I got a call from my manager, and he said, "There's a book deal for you. Do you want to write a memoir?" And I would never read my memoir, so I just wouldn't write my memoir. I want to keep creating the kind of art that I would want to consume myself. And then I shifted gears and I turned it into a book, and I'm so glad I did. It changed the entire course of this intellectual property. It changed the entire course of the story. I opened up in a way that I never would have if I didn't have this opportunity.
Wow. I love many parts of that. First off, it's the dream, I think, to have someone call you up and be like, "I've got a book deal for you." Is there a chance that this means the memoir might still happen, or are you like, "No, I'm not doing that"?
No, I would never write my memoirs. Honestly, people think that my life is more exciting than it actually is. And my friends who know me, they're all like, no, no one will read your memoir. Like it's when I'm not on stage or I'm not podcasting, I'm really not doing anything exciting. I don't go to restaurants. I hate going to restaurants. I rarely go to concerts. I don't drink. I don't do any drugs. My life is just mostly just playing video games, talking to my friends, being on planes. So like it actually would not be even people are like, but you met Madonna. I'm like, yeah, but I met Madonna at like 64. We weren't doing lines of coke. We were dancing and singing and then going back to our homes or her home, my hotel. It wasn't anything crazy. I live a pretty calm life despite the madness around it.
Well, we're obviously glad that you did write this book, and I know you are too. You New York Times bestseller. Sorry, that might have been loud. Why Harriet Tubman? Well, I feel like we've had this. I know I've had this conversation with you, but our listeners haven't.
So I've been obsessed with Harriet Tubman my whole life. Like every time we did a history report in school, I always chose Harriet Tubman because every time you look into her life and you read what the historians are saying, there's something new to uncover every single time. Something that just sounds completely unrealistic, but it's constantly being corroborated by multiple historians who are all like, no, it's true. It's absolutely true. She really was. I mean, she lived to be almost 100 years old. She was like 91, 92 years old. She was under 5 feet tall. She was she had a pretty severe physical disability. But meanwhile, despite all of that, I mean, people think that she had like little migraines. People are like, oh, well, Harriet had migraines. Baby, migraines is not to describe. She had brain trauma, severe brain trauma that would cause her to faint for hours at a time. She could not read. She could not write. But yet still, like dust, she rose. You know what I mean?
Oh, wasn't that such a great clip? That was fantastic.
He's so good. So, speaking of people, like you were talking about with Gioma, who just do everything and are so good at all of it and will be remembered years from now, it's like, I had no idea how much Bob did, how smart, how talented, how funny. Well, funny I knew, actually, that. I've watched the shows, I know. But damn, a great interview. If you are not part of the club, join now so you get access to it.
It's true. Well, thank you all so much for listening to our Queer 101 podcast. And listen, there is, I'm imagining, I don't really know, there's a lot happening in the world right now that is kind of unnerving. And I imagine that this will be, I'm saying this right here, right now, having not talked to Hugh about it. It's important to me to use the platforms that I have. This one, also my social media, also my brand newly rebranded podcast with Bob the Drag Queen, The Gag Is, to talk about what's important and what's going on, not only in my life, but our lives in a more direct way. And so, I mean, I'm not really saying anything in particular, but I'm saying, you know, as the world changes, we're going to reflect what's going on. So don't worry, folks. Like, this will be a place, we want this to be a place where you can come and talk about whatever it is that is on your mind, hopefully as it relates to queer history, because we see that nothing is new under the sun, and history doesn't repeat but rhymes. Is that what the saying is now these days?
And we want to hear what your thoughts on it are. You know, you're hearing our thoughts, but, like, we want to keep this engaged with what's on your mind, what you care about. We know what we're paying attention to, but hop on over to Kiki and let us know what's got you upset, what's got you excited, what's keeping you going right now, because we all need something to keep us going amid all this fucking craziness. So please chat with us, let us know, and then hop on the call with Bob when we do our special episode.
Y'all, thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and we will see you over on allstora.com.
Bye!